and a very warm welcome to our 46th Security Thought Leadership webinar. Every Tuesday and Thursday since the crisis started, we've been here this time organising seminars and webinars on a topic at the forefront of debate. And the idea of thought leadership is that by critiquing what is going on today, we get a better type of security tomorrow. And as always, we invite an expert panel to discuss a crucial topic. And the topic today is examining the value of data-driven intelligence in security operations, influential or overstated. And this has emerged from previous webinars where we've been hearing on the one hand of the enormous potential to make a difference to frontline security where it really matters, and on the other hand, that it's just overstated and there are more problems that get in the way of things working successfully. So I'm very grateful to Tractic, who've signed up to facilitate this discussion and to make the point that we need to critique what's going on today in order to get better security tomorrow. So without further ado, let me begin to introduce my panel. And as always, I will invite them each to introduce themselves. And once they've done that, I will then invite each of them to make an opening statement. Once they've made their opening statement, I will then come to you for questions from the audience. And I would encourage you, audience, to get your questions in early. Now, Bruno, unfortunately, has gone ill this morning, so he can't be with us, but we've still got three panelists from the United States, from Canada, and from Northern Ireland. So without further ado, let's meet them and let's get it all started. And let me go first to Godfrey. Godfrey, can you introduce yourself first, please?
Hello, everybody. My name is Godfrey Gaston. I am the Executive Director of CSIT, which is the Centre for Secure Information Technologies, and as part of Queen's University in Belfast, a research institute there, and we're based in Northern Ireland.
Thank you very much indeed, Godfrey. And David, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is David Chandler. I'm the president for CalSAGA, which is the association representing the security industry in California, and I'm in California, Sacramento, California today.
Thank you very much, David. And Simon, over in Canada, can you introduce yourself, please?
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Simon Ferrang. I'm the founder and CEO of Tractic Softwares, and I'm from Montreal, Canada.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, now that's our panel. Let's get started. Let's go for their opening statements. Godfrey, your opening statement, please. 3 minutes on your views on this topic.
So thank you, Martin. So let me start off by saying one of the biggest challenges that faces security operations centers and those analyzing data at the minute is just overwhelmed by the amount of data available. They're overwhelmed by the numbers of different software platforms, number of systems they have to try to manage. So if you speak to anybody who tries to manage one of these centers, they're juggling maybe dozens of different tools, trying to bring the orchestration all together. There's data all over the place, but the problem is they are not able to extract enough knowledge, enough information out of that data. So on one hand, we've got so much data, we should be making better decisions, but in reality, part of the problem is nobody really yet has cracked this and been able to come up with an opportunity to efficiently get enough information out of that data. And I would propose that the problem is only going to get worse as we get more and more connected, as 5G comes online, there's going to be even more information. And so essentially, while we talk it up, while we say this is a great opportunity, I would actually say we're far from cracking this problem. And while many people have done a great job, my sense is that we're still a long, long way to go, and we need a much more integrated approach to really solve this problem.
Really helpful. Thank you very much indeed, Godfrey. Okay, David, your opening statement, please.
Well, on our position, you know, representing the actual guards that work the streets and work for all the clients that we have in California and throughout the United States, our big problem is, you know, the continuous equal information coming across the board. The owners of our security companies don't understand the data, how to get the data, how to process it, how to get it out to the field so that the individual guards can use the data. We're just getting into robots, We're getting into some analytics stuff that's coming around, but only the big companies can afford to hire analysts to try to put the data together to crank out some information that the guards could actually use. Again, I'm certainly not at Godfrey's level, where you've got a bunch of brilliant people working around computer systems and such, analyzing everything. We're talking about the actual guard in the street and how we can get information to him. So I think there's opportunities. I just think it's going to take a lot of work to try to get it down to the level that I'm at, or the level that the people that I represent, to actually do some good.
Thank you very much indeed, David. Don't forget, audience, they've got a question and answer button at the bottom of your screen. So if you'd like to ask a question, do please get it in early. Time flies fast. Okay, let's go to Simon. Simon, your opening statement, please.
Right. So my position is more from a technology point of view. So we are right now powering over 620 security firms in 45 countries. So in the last 7 years, I remember my first meetings talking about our platform was selling the idea of like guards having, being connected. But today we saw major changes in the way security service can be delivered. And one of the big trend that we see also is the requirement from the clients, so from the security consumers. They're asking their security firms now to provide better reporting, to connect signals and sensors to the system to get notified right away. So we are seeing this major trend of digitalization throughout the industry, which of course brings a lot of opportunities. I think Godfrey mentioned the world has become this huge sensor. When your dishwasher sends you a text message to tell you that it is ready, we're starting to see like major, industrial equipment such as boiler rooms, sending the signals to the security officers. And so we see a trend of like becoming a fluid workforce security responses. So all of these, of course, bring a lot of challenges from our dear clients. So our goal, as TrackTech is we help them, bring them through this digital transformation of the industry.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so can I remind you, please, audience, to ask questions on the question and answer button, not the chat button, because we can only see the question and answer button. Okay, let's go to Josh Flint. David, I'm going to come to you first with this question. It's a question from Josh Flint. And I guess we're talking about the security officer on the street. And the question is, what sort of data are they going to want that's going to most help them, David? I mean, what do your members want? Because as you say, there's plenty of it. The question is, how do you determine what's important? So I'll come to you first, David, then I'll come to Simon. David.
Well, and that's what's changing in our industry is law enforcement currently is using or hiring analysts and comprising the data and determining where to patrol or saturate the patrol areas because of the possibility of a higher crime rate. I think the same thing is going to ultimately happen in the security industry too. In the security industry, we have standing guards and we have guards that patrol around in vehicles or bicycles or such. With the data that could possibly tell you that at this particular time between this hour and this hour, the possibility of a crime is very high, you can saturate the area with more guards, obviously. Not as and certainly not as a commercial, but I will tell you that we have a lot of companies that work with TrackTech, and Simon, I appreciate everything your company's done to try to bring the technology to the guards themselves. It's phenomenal work that TrackTech, the programs that they have. It's just difficult to get the companies to buy into it, or how they can get extra people on there. And you got to remember, the companies are also afraid of losing man hours, replacing them with analysts, or replacing them with robots, or replacing them with all sorts of things. So the industry in the United States is I'm just going to tell you, it's my personal opinion, that a lot of times they're scared of change, things that they don't understand, that they don't know how to process. They're afraid, so they resist. But that time, I'm hoping the time is changing.
Okay, well, let's come to Simon, because obviously, Simon, this is really your core bit about getting the right data to the right people. I mean, what's the main barrier to getting the right data to the right people each time, Simon?
Well, I think it's there's a lot of noise data. So like, in TrackTech, we collect over 300 data points from the guard performance front. So from GPS tracking to incidents, to incidents, to any type of reports or anything like this. So what we're seeing is that with these data sets, the goal for the security firms, you know, like, and I think David mentioned something very important, is that they don't necessarily have data analysts available to them. So our goal as a software provider is to actually like analyze this data and provide like ready to consume insights that can be distributed to the clients. So the technology layer role, like TrackPick is, or other of our competitors are, it's one of our objectives to like look at all of those data and prepare it in a way that's consumable. But this is a great opportunity, right? So with the amount of data that we collect, I think it's a great opportunity, especially for certain markets. Security is still perceived as a commodity service, right? So I think this, we're seeing a trend where, you know, with all this data and those insights that you can provide to your clients, this helps escalate, if you want, the security services to professional services. When you get into those spaces, you can, you know, stop bidding on hourly rates and so on. So it's a great opportunity to jump into that. And of course, it comes with challenges. The people that are working in the security firms are not necessarily data experts. So our system or other systems are meant to really consume this data to remove the noise and provide only what's insightful for the clients. Yeah,
okay, I get that. I mean, Gottfried, in your opening statement, you made the point that there were going to be difficulties in making this happen. Can I just give you Dennis Shep's question? Dennis is based in Canada and are very well known on the circuit. And he goes saying like this, he says he's always been amazed how many security practitioners have never embraced the available data-driven tools, and you sort of made a point yourself. The tools have been there without high-end technical expertise needed to use it. Is it the funds that hold them back, or is it the level of sophistication of the practitioner? Lots of talks of guards by these guys. Even the leadership in security has a way to go to learn how to use tech. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. This point, I suppose, Gottfried, getting to the heart of the matter, is not only is the data there, the tools are there, but it's just not a sophisticated enough industry to make the most of it. Your thoughts, Gottfried?
So I take the point entirely, but I think for me, it's the problem is the tools are always changing. So, you know, in one sense, you know, when you get up to speed and you think, all right, we've got a trained workforce, or we've got the necessary skills, then something else comes out, was the latest and greatest, and then the person then has to get updated on that particular toolkit or whatever. So I think that the challenge for me is you know, because we're moving, it's such a fast moving field, and because, you know, particularly around sensors and particularly around the availability of information and the different types of information that's coming through, then I think it's just, for me, it's not possible to always be standing still and saying, right, I'm now trained, I've now got it, I now know what I'm doing. And I mean, I think particularly around things like you know, smart data. So, you know, people talk about the cloud and what can cloud bring or whatever, but for me, a lot of it is actually around the edge and edge computing and sensors and what decisions can we make at the edge, rather than having to send everything back to the cloud, whatever that data is, whether that's video feeds, whether that's you know, network traffic, or whatever the data is, it doesn't matter. I think the more we can actually process at the edge and make decisions at the edge, and then send that information back maybe as an outcome rather than raw data, those types of things I think are important. So as we go forward, we're using processing and technology to remove to make the decisions for us more and more, rather than relying on somebody else to be up to speed on the tools and to understand what's going on. So, and that's, we're not there yet, but I think that's a trend and something, a direction of travel.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. David, let me put the point to you, and I think it's a good one, and these weren't Dennis Shep's words, they're mine, but the fact of the matter is the security sector just hasn't been sophisticated enough to milk the opportunities that it's been presented with. And the reality is, I suppose, put it to you, David, that's the problem. We haven't got a very sophisticated sector, and therein lies our problem. David.
Yeah, Martin, you're absolutely right. In order to be a guard in the state of California, or a security professional, all you have to have is be 18 years of age and don't have any problem in their background. There's no high school diploma requirement. There's no college degree required. So our entry-level people that are coming in working on the streets, we call it boots on the ground, don't have a tremendous education level behind them, and their technology level is suffering for that. Again, you know, the security companies that provide the guards out there in the street, even at their level, they're stuck with the dollar amount they're getting from the client, paying what we call workers' comp, paying insurance, paying all the fees, all the state fees, everything's required to pay, paying the guard also, making a profit, and then cutting into that profit to hire an analyst to try to get some of this data back. And then where do they get the data from? You know, where's it going to come from? What kind of, are these site specific? Are they looking for specific data? So, you know, sadly, we rely, and again, we rely on companies like Simon's and I hate to use this phrase, but dumb it down for the security companies so that they can actually put, you know, phones in the hands of guards and get them out of writing a lot of reports themselves. Putting it in the input into the phones makes it a lot easier and moves it on. And then we'll talk about, I'm sure we'll talk about robots here shortly and the drone capabilities and everything else. Not every guard can operate a drone. Not every guard can operate a robot.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much indeed. Simon, I'm going to come to you with a question from Michael Gibbs. And Michael Gibbs is switching the emphasis here, a former panelist. And his question is this: business leaders make decisions based on data. We're getting plenty of data in security, and we have the opportunity to tap into it so much more. Since the C-suite, since the very big leaders in the security sector are driven by data, why are we bulking at providing it to them? In other words, why do we need to start there and get them on board? And is that a fair criticism or observation? Simon first, please.
Well, you know, we spoke a lot about the service delivery, the data we collect, the sites, and how we can augment the value to our clients, right? So when you start talking to the C-suite about signing bigger deals with national clients or international clients, because you can, you know, provide better added value by showing like summaries of all that, that's great. So when you look at the security firm itself, the data that is coming from, and I think David brought up a very good point around the foot on the ground, it has to be really, really easy for them. So they become ultimately the source of data, the sensors, but then it's, I think, where this is going, it doesn't need to be complex for the frontline officers, is when you get back to collecting all of this data, there is a lot of business insights that can be provided to the C-suite. There's a lot of like better decision that can be taken from there, from employee performance, from client you know, risk insights that can get out of that, from patterns of you know, supporting employees from a scheduling point of view, that creates overtime, from behavioral analysis, from revenue and gross margin. So all of those data sets that are coming in these type of systems can be mashed up and delivered as well to the C-suite. And when we talk about, you know, internally from a security firm, but also you got the chief security officers of the large enterprise that are now requesting to receive all the incident matrix in their data warehouse on their side.
Yeah, okay. So Simon, do you think that part of the problem here is that as a sector, we haven't got the industry leaders bought in to what it really takes to make it work? I mean, look, there's plenty of products and yours is one. They're clearly doing great stuff out there. Okay, that's fair enough. But I'm talking about a bigger issue here, about not truly engaging the leadership in, okay, we could do all this, but you're going to have to do your bit too in making your company, your sector, your industry a bit more engaged, folks.
Yeah. So I think it's, you know, a few weeks ago, a few years ago, it was a nice to have, but now the requirement is going to be pushed from the bottom up. So the clients, the security providers are now asking for insights, are now asking for data warehouses with the data. So the industry, the companies that are not, you know, are not able to provide this, as the client's expectation of security service is improving, will fall behind. So when you start losing major contracts because you don't have the technology, when you start missing RFPs because you don't have the technology, this is where the C-suite, you know, realize that, wow, there is a digitalization of the industry that's going on, and we need to offer insight as a service versus just guards by the pound.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much indeed. Let me come to Godfrey. I got a question here from Ewan Grant, Godfrey. He picked out an observation you made, and he agrees with you, where you referred to the challenges in extracting information from data. So data is one thing, getting the information from it, as you say, is quite a different thing. And the question he's got is, do you think the industry has really got that distinction? He says, we need less James Bonds and more Sherlock Holmes. I think the point he's trying to make is a bit more grounded in reality here. Godfrey, is this really quite basic stuff?
So obviously I'm biased because I tend to view things from a technology perspective and how technology can solve the problem. So I accept that there's a on the ground reality and making that happen. But then my feeling is that to be able to get the real value, can we employ some of the I know the buzzword at the minute is around artificial intelligence, machine learning, you know, all these types of, you know, buzzwords, and I hate using buzzwords just for the sake of them. But, you know, are there ways that we can use that technology to automate a lot of this? You know, so for example, some of the things that you see within the traditional cybersecurity world around insider threat and maybe what people are doing within the workforce, that, you know, are there ways where you can apply that same technology, looking for anomalies, looking for unusual events, unusual behavior. So my feeling is that the only way we'll really solve this problem is by using these types of tools more widely. And I say that very carefully because one of the things that I hate looking at startups and whatever, they put in AI and machine learning into their pitch deck and they think they're going to get millions or whatever. So I am aware of these buzzwords, but at the same time, I think there's a huge opportunity here to really get that information that we need by employing technology. It's not easy. It needs to be tuned to the particular problem, but I think there's an opportunity to really do something significant.
Yeah, David, one of the things you mentioned earlier was you mentioned robots and drones. And of course, we're hearing a lot about these days. And of course, they provide an opportunity to the security sector, but they provide a threat too. And I think you alluded to this. You got to be careful if you're a security supplier and getting your clients into that and they get rid of half your staff, I mean, or whatever it is. David, do you think it's realistic to for the security sector to embrace these types of technologies, given the reality is they provide a big threat too? Dave, just ask you for a comment on that, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think you know, a lot of the industry is always scared of losing man hours. The security companies themselves, they want to keep the man hours as much as possible. In this industry, in the security industry in the United States, it's an extremely high turnover rate. So we're constantly looking for people. So I think the addition of robots and the addition of drones is going to supplement the guards on the street for the lack of people that we can't get. Now, I know one of the questions coming up is the COVID issue. I'll tell you, robots have been an extremely helpful device during this COVID thing. They're doing temperature checks on people, preventing the security guards from coming in contact with people using the robot features to use that first. So there is skepticism in the industry about taking over the guard hours. But when you actually explain to them, you know, how you can benefit, how you can supplement your staff, it'll come around. But in California specifically, we have approximately 2,800 security companies. The big three in the state of California are Allied Universal, Securitas, and G4S. That's 3 out of 2,400. So most of the security companies in California are less than 10 officers apiece. So, you know, getting down to the level that they're at versus the big three who can afford to lease the robots, who can afford to buy drones. Again, it turns at the end of the day, it turns into dollars. Who can afford to hire the analysts? Who can afford to, you know, gather information and put it in one place? So, you know,
okay.
Yeah.
Simon, yeah, let me come to Simon on this. Simon, I just wonder if I get your view on these sorts of things. I mean, drones and robots specifically, since they've been raised. I mean, these sorts of technologies provide both an opportunity and a threat. I guess, Simon, would that be your view too, or are you fully embrace this?
So I think, well, let's talk about robot. I think I'm aligned with David. There's really a supplement to it. I think probably we could have had this meeting when, you know, video access control system came in and say, oh, this is a threat, we're going to lose many hours. Or the same when video cameras came in. So I think there's like, until, and you know, we talk about, you know, AI, we are not in the fact where we're not at a point where the robot can feel and understand the situation awareness that a human can do. So, you know, if somebody like fell and they need assistance, there's no way a robot can provide something beside sending a signal to a human to come and assist. So the robot is a moving sensor that goes on the properties, you know, so we've, so it's very, I think it's gonna be very, very interesting. So we just did a partnership with Badger Technologies, which has robots that go into the, that, you know, pretty tall robot that go in through retail stores to do like inventories. So they are going in the industry space, as well, but as a supplement to, and as a moving sensor. And for drones, when we talk about, you know, urban landscape or like our cities and things like that, you know, it's very, I'm a student pilot. I'm trying to get my license to fly. So this will become a big problem. Right now, it is already a problem. So drone technology is great for, you know, non-urban areas. But, you know, like, let's say there's an alarm that went into a house. I'm not sure when is the time that we will see a drone do the response versus the mobile patrollers. So I think there's more steps towards that, but there's great potential. But you know, there's the FFA and lots of organization that needs to get through that before. And
the point is, you still need people to respond to those, Simon. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So like, it didn't go. The drone goes there. You know, it's maybe a sensor that triggered it. There was an alarm at you know, an ATM. The drone goes there to do situation awareness. But if there's somebody that's sleeping in there, or like there's something happening, it cannot respond. I mean, it's like you need human intervention. So so it's good for situation awareness on some things, but I don't see these technologies as a threat to the industry, at least not for the next like 20 years.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me, we got lots of questions coming in, and we're moving fast. Now, let me come to David first on this question, and it's from Dr. Glenn Kitteringham, who's been a former panelist. And he's making the point about, are we talking about the right people here? Because it's managers and clients who are having the guards collect the information. Yep. The guards themselves are not supposed to assess the data. So why are we worried about that? I mean, let others assess the data. It's their job to get it in a form that security officers on the front line can respond to. We've got the wrong sort of thinking here. David, do you agree with Glenn?
Well, I don't think it's not the wrong type of thinking, but you're absolutely right. The managers, the higher levels of the company, are the ones that have to get the data down to the officer. They're going to have to take the raw data, conform it into something that the guard can understand and respond to, so that the guard knows what he's going into when he goes into a situation, or knows what to look for when he comes into a situation, when he's brought into an awareness of something may happen in an area. Again, at the end of the day, we're talking about the more boots on the ground. We've got guard companies that are owned by a mom and pop, a husband and wife, that have 10 guards, and they're the supervisor. So they've got to determine how much money they're going to spend in order to try to analyze data, and where do they get the data from. Unless they go out to a company, they don't have the opportunity to get the access to the data. So at the end of the day, it's all about dollars in California, and specifically in the United States. That's what all the individual owners are looking at, and how much they have to spend to get the data to improve their security services, when the clients don't want to pay any extra money, but the least amount of money that they have to pay in order to get a guard.
Yeah, I mean, Simon, this point crops up on a webinar we held recently, which was about the sort of limits of technology and why things go wrong. And one of the points being made, very bravely, I thought, was the way that technology is being sold to companies. And one of the panelists was making the point: you've got to control your salespeople because they can oversell, and you've got to work to get clients properly engaged with all it takes. Often training is the thing to go because it costs money. And one of the buyers says, I don't want to put training in there because otherwise I won't get the budget to buy it. Simon, these sorts of issues, how much do they complicate your life in terms of Glenn's point about how we impact on the front line?
So, well, when we talk about training, we talk about user experience, and we talk about making it easier and easier, right? So in the last 7 years, the user experience patterns of software has evolved a lot. So, if you look at the demographics, in the US of people that are using the technology, there's a big range from students, to retired people. But many of them are starting to use cell phones in general to send text message, to take calls, or just look at their internet or look at their emails. So as we're like a good example for us is we are about to release a new version of our application that goes and grab those best practice to really facilitate, if you want, any training issues. So of course, think of 3 layers. You got the frontline security layer, which collects data and receives data. Then you got a translation layer, which is basically our role is to democratize the data that is being collected and have plug and play solutions for the clients. And the layers on top is the output, is what you're actually offering as a service. So our goal is to democratize the data. So like so you can have like a set and forget type of settings for your operation. And then your clients can expect to have like very insightful data sets or information to look at. So I don't see as user experience is evolving, the facility to use the data is evolving, and just the consumers that are ordering from Amazon and so on are evolving as well along with that trend. Now, will the industry catch up and follow that trend as well? So that's what we're trying really hard to accomplish.
Single point, Simon, what's the main barrier to getting the industry to adopt that trend? Where's the challenge? What's the pinch point?
I think it's a executive buyout from a guard adoption point of view, from a frontline security adoption. It's not an issue. It was more. It was like the big thing was to sell the idea of digitalizing the frontline. But today is really executive buyouts on this, and basically the vision of wanting to follow the transformation of the industry to become more data driven.
Okay.
And I'm working with lots of clients, and one thing that I want to point out is that more and more we're seeing, and we have like very small clients and very large clients, and more we have like new roles in those companies, like BI analysts that are looking not only for the output but for the internal. We're starting to see a lot of clients coming to us and say, hey, I want to connect to this sensor here, which will send, and I want to dispatch automatically to my mobile response. So we're seeing more and more of those requests coming up in the industry. So you feel that the industry is transforming.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to move on. I'm going to go to Godfrey. Godfrey, I've got a good question for you, and it comes from Chris Jacks, who always asks good questions because he's a former student of mine, and that's the only reason I think. His point, Godfrey, is crime pattern analysis has been about for years. The data sharing of business-specific security is always something businesses are reluctant to do because of reputational or security reasons themselves. And here's the point. There is this issue about data sharing. We've got privacy issues. We've got data protection issues, Godfrey. Do you see that as a big problem? And if it isn't a problem, then there's certainly a real sense on the ground that commercial realities are getting in the way of the effective use of data. Fair point or not fair point, Godfrey?
Yes, absolutely fair point. And I mean, I think obviously with GDPR here in Europe and the challenges around data and privacy, then this is just getting more and more difficult. But I think I mean, I guess an analogy I could give is the banks many years ago didn't want to share information about threats that they saw from physical threats to their networks. But then they realized, what, if we share all this information together, we can actually defeat the common enemy, so to speak. And they very quickly realized that, that they put their old rivalries aside, and by sharing that information and sharing that data in real time, not just like in history, but as things happen, then they can maybe capture people, get arrests, all this kind of stuff using law enforcement. And I would say that the same is true in this world, where the more we can share, and even in real time, not necessarily in real time, even after the event, trends, patterns, ways of working, what they learned, what didn't work. So the more we can do that, then I think the better. And clearly we need to be mindful of the GDPR issue and all of that, and privacy issues. But I think there are ways of anonymizing the data. There are ways of making that data available for the greater good. So I think we can't hide behind GDPR and privacy. We need to be mindful of it, but I think there's lots more we can do in terms of sharing, not just on a local basis, but even international. We've got an international audience here today. Are there ways and methods, and the challenge might be, how could we do things better internationally across borders to make things even better?
Yeah, it's of course, I guess this problem, Godfrey, is not just a security one. It's a biggie, but it goes beyond security. Okay, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to move on because we've got questions coming in, and I do want to be seen to be as thorough as I can. David, there's a suggestion from Keith Nielsen here, and you mentioned it a bit earlier. You change the education level of guards, you regulate it more closely. Just by the way, people are using the word guards on this. We've got a webinar coming up about whether the word guard is a pejorative term, a negative term, and we should be using security officer. We've got a whole webinar devoted to that coming up in October. But just meanwhile, this point that there's the problem. And until we solve that, not only will we not get effective technology, we won't get a good reputation for the security sector, and then we're forever on the run. David, is that the core of the problem here?
Probably. I like to use the phrase security professional. However, the state of California and many states throughout the United States, all their permits, all the licensing specifically says guard. So I commonly say guard a lot, and I certainly don't mean to put down the people that are out there on the street, because they're the ones making the money. The biggest thing for us in the security industry, again, is people are afraid of change. They're afraid, they're intimidated by information. And again, the big companies can afford the analysts, can afford the people, and companies like TrackTick are going after the small companies and giving them an opportunity to get information technology immediately. And I think it's working. I think it's coming around. But there's an awful lot of companies out there, and you go shake hands with everybody and try to get them to buy on. Again, at the end of the day, you have a client that's going to pay X amount of dollars, and I'm going to tell you right now, they want to pay the least amount of money possible per hour per guard, but they want the best guard in the world. They want a SEAL or a Special Forces Ranger working on their property so that they'll never have a problem, but yet they don't want to pay it. So, I mean, the client wants a lot of stuff, but they're not willing to pay and spend the money for it. No excuse for not having the technology to back it up or supplement your guard service. But it's the reality of what's happening in the street itself. COVID has also killed a tremendous amount of businesses. It's shut down all the nightclubs, it's shut down all the sporting events, it's shut down everything along those lines. So there's a lot of guards that are without a job right now, regardless of technology. Technology can't help them in this realm. So, I think, in person, I think, again, the bottom line for me is that the people are afraid of it because they don't understand it. And they just need to open up their eyes and open up their wallets a little bit and spend a couple dollars to save millions.
One thing I've learned from doing these webinars, and it's the 46th today, as I was saying, is that problem is a global problem around the world, getting clients to pay what the. Okay, let me come to Simon now. Simon, I want to come to you. And
I'd like to answer that question, if you may.
Yes, very quickly, if you wouldn't mind, very quickly.
Okay, perfect. So what we've seen, so there's direct correlation around the wages in the area, so how much the officers are making and the type of services So if you hire better people, you need to increase your billables, you need to increase your pay. So what's going to happen is that the industry will transform itself from a static guarding to more on-demand guarding. So this is what's happening in Europe. In Europe, the wages are bigger, and there's more response as a service versus static guards. So you see this pattern evolving. But
why is that not obvious?
Huh?
Why is it not obvious? Surely that's obvious. Surely.
Yeah. Well, it's a I get your point. So, but the traditional guarding, it's a bread and butter of most security, especially in North America. However, when you're looking at those patrols, on-demand alarm responses, preventive patrols, the actual margins are 10 times bigger, right? So you can actually make more money with less people, less ethics. However, like the US, if you look, even compared to Canada, is lagging from response as a service, but we see more and more of this coming up. And so it's going to be hard, I think, to answer the participant question to hire people with more education, because the contracts are built in a way that if you do those rates if you increase your bill rates, the company will not be able to afford it. So we are restricted to budgets of our security programs. So in this case, it's a chicken and the egg problem.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate the point. All right, I've got one quick question to Godfried, and I'm just going to try and get it in, Godfried. You can't take too long because we're running out of time. It's from Elitin Kangos, who asks a more general question about buying intelligence from outside the security sector. I mean, presumably that's the principle is that intelligence is available from a lot of sources. But is it?
I mean, I think that's a difficult one because I mean, yes, certainly you can buy that in, but I guess 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, the data and the information and intelligence that you need is on the ground. It's happening in real time or near real time. And so yes, potentially you could supplement that with other data or other intelligence, but I think trying to integrate that and make decisions from that, I think is going to be tough.
Thank you very much, Lee Godfried. Right, everybody, listen, we haven't got through all the questions. They tell me, by the way, the great thing about these webinars is we always leave people wanting more. We're certainly doing that today. I'm going to come to each of my panelists and ask you each if I could just have your final 20 seconds, if you wouldn't mind, panelists, your final thoughts on this issue, the key takeaway point about the key points or focus for making data-driven intelligence available to security at the sharp end. David, your final comment, please.
I think the data is very important for the security industry. I think it's extremely important, and again, I appreciate Simon being on here because he's bringing it to the people. We've got to get the costs down. As far as what it's going to cost for the employers to get it in order to put it out to the guards, in means of cell phones and everything else. And I think ultimately we'll catch up. With the defunding and talking about defunding police in the United States, security is on an uptick right now. It's going up. We don't have enough people to cover the jobs that we're getting. However, in that time frame, we're able to raise the rates also, so we're able to get some more money. So I think technology is really going to help us in the long run. We're just scared of it right now because we don't understand it.
Toby, thank you very much, Lee. Godfrey, just 20 seconds if you wouldn't mind, we're running out of time.
Okay, so I say our center, we drive on the 3 topics: secure, connected, intelligence. So what I would challenge is, how can the industry we're talking about today use the secure, connected intelligence themes to revolutionize the industry?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. And Simon, it seems only right to give the very final comment to you. 20 seconds if you wouldn't mind.
As a final comment, I think we're going through this exciting times in the industry, and this digital transformation might look scary, but it will bring so much new opportunities and make all of our security providers actually transform themselves, but they'll run better lives. Okay, panel, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed to the audience for your questions as well. I'm so sorry we didn't get through anyone, but it's a sign of a good webinar. I'm very grateful to the panel once again, and to Tractic for supporting this. It's important. It's important we debate some of these real life issues, and some fantastic points. And thank you for your feedback already coming through, saying that you've enjoyed it. Just to remind you all, when we're talking about doing a good job,
There is no better way, in my view, of recognizing those who are outstanding than nominating them for an Outstanding Security Performance Award. The Oscars are still open in Kenya, in Germany, in the UK and Romania. Please take time. Let's find out who the outstanding performers are. And the Tech and Economic Crime Awards are open in the UK until the 1st of September. To let you know, we go through this all again on Thursday and on Friday this week. That's how exciting we find it. On Thursday, we're looking at the security sector and the harms caused by COVID-19. What have we learned so far? And listen to this, on Friday at 11 a.m. BST, so an earlier time, we're looking at the impact of COVID-19 in Nigeria. Some dreadful sort of messages coming out of that. And after that, we're going to be announcing who the winners are of the Nigerian Oscars. And next Tuesday, Security in Asia, what does the new normal look like in Asia? We've got representatives from different Asian countries, 9:30 a.m. BST, so we can get to more parts of the world. So finally, a very big thank you to you all for your participation today. Thank you very much indeed, panel. Thank you, Tractic. Thank you, audience, for your questions. Sorry we didn't get to them all. Hopefully we'll see you on Thursday, wherever you are in the world. Until we see you again, stay safe.